All right, on the board, I also have what rooms you would be going in. So period 1, you're in W304. Where's that? Down the hall. There.
This is part, aren't you sad? This is like the last class. You'll have it.
Oh, next year?
No.
I could teach you next year, right?
No, I mean like, oh yeah.
No, I'm not that sad.
And what if you don't? I'll be back.
Well, some of you I know in the trigonometry class, right?
Yep.
And then some of you are, I could teach you in pre-calculus next year. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this quickly.
Oh my god.
Okay, now number 21 we did yesterday, so we start with 22. 22. If you know what the graph of this looks like, and you do, right? This is one of the base graphs. What are the 2 points you're supposed to know?
1, 1.
1, 1, and negative 1, negative 1. So it looks like this. Agaga, Hakuna, Matata. How would you graph this now? Y equal 3 over. Now if I remember this question, you just have to like, it has words, you just gotta pick it up. So, what does this do to the graph? It shifts it 2 to the left. And what does that 3 do? Oh, I forgot. No. It stretches it vertically by a factor of 3, like that. That's what it does. So it's kind of like you have the 3 on the outside like that. See, when you multiply a function by 3, it stretches it vertically by a factor of 3. So there's a vertical stretch, and then you have to shift it 2 to the left. That's what happens. And if I remember the question correctly, you don't even have to draw the graph. You just gotta pick out the words that says what's happening to the graph. Okay, 23. Write the equation of the parabola with vertex at 2, 3 and directrix x equals 0. Now, do you guys remember the equations for the parabolas? Of course not, so why don't I write it down? X minus h squared is equal to 4p times y minus k. Why is there a bug button on it? And then y minus k squared is equal to 4p times x minus h. And of course, by now you know the h always goes with the x and the k always goes with the y, right? So if one of them is squared, it's going to be a parabola. If both of them are squared, then it's either an ellipse or a hyperbola. So in this case, it's a parabola. So if the x1 is squared, it either opens up or down. Does that sound familiar? It's like y equal x squared. If the y is squared, then it opens either right or left. And how do you determine up or down, left, right? What do you do? You look at p. If p is positive, it opens up. If p is negative, down. For this one, if p is positive, right, and if p is negative, left. Here, let's make a chart then. P positive, p negative. Okay, so in this problem, you have to actually write the equation of the parabola. So you probably want to draw a picture, a graph. So the vertex is at 2, 3 right there. Here's the vertex. 2, 3. And the directrix is x equals 0. What the heck is x equals 0? That's the y-axis here. This is the directrix. So if this is the directrix, I'll put x equals 0 here. And that's the vertex. Which way is this parabola opening?
Left, right.
It's opening to the right. It's like that. Remember, look, whenever you have a parabola, it doesn't matter which direction. Which direction it's opening. This is the vertex, the focus is inside, and then the directrix is a line that's outside like that, right? And remember, this distance and that distance are the same. That's what P is. P is the distance between the vertex and the focus of the vertex and the directrix. Okay, now anyway, once you know the vertex, you can write almost the whole equation already, right? So, since this parabola obviously opens to the right, that means it's the y one. So the equation is going to be y minus, what number do I put in? 3, because just look at the y coordinate of the vertex, is equal to 4p times x minus 2. So to write the equation of this parabola, you have to simply know what p is. If you know what p is, the problem's done already. So what is P? P is the distance from the vertex to the focus or vertex to the directrix. Well, here's the vertex, here's the directrix. What is this distance right there? How far is it from the y-axis to the point 2 comma 3? Just count. 1, 2. That's 2. So what is P in this problem? Positive 2 or negative 2? Because it's opening to the right. It's positive 2. If it was opening to the left, then it would be negative 2. So all you have to do is put 2 right there, and of course 4 times 2 is 8. Finish, then you pick out the answer. It's multiple choice. Okay? And then, okay, 24, this one's easy. See, the easy ones, these are the ones that you need to nail, because there's some pretty tough ones. Find the x-intercepts. How do you find the x-intercepts of any graph? What do? You substitute 0 for y, and then you just solve that equation. So basically it's algebra 1, and this is not really an algebra 2 question. So how do you solve an equation? What do? You need to factor this side. What can be factored out from both terms? A negative 3x. What's left? X squared minus 4. Can that be factored some more? You bet your sweet dippy it does. Like that. Woo! So what are the 3 x-intercepts? 0, negative 2, and 2. Those are the x-intercepts. So, just like solving any equation, make one side 0 and factor the other side. Okay, 25. Now this one, we can actually draw the graph if we want to, or if we know something, we don't need to draw the graph. Now they're asking, when is the graph of this tangent to the x-axis? In other words, when the x-axis here, they're asking, when does the graph bounce off? See, when it bounces off the x-axis, that's what tangent means, right? You guys remember the word tangent from geometry? Here's a circle. This is called a tangent line. See how it just touches it at one point like that? It's called a tangent line. So tangent to the x-axis basically means it's going to bounce off now. Do you guys remember how to tell if the graph goes through or bounces off an x-intercept? Because what are the x-intercepts of this graph? 0, negative 2, 1, and 3, right? How do you tell if it goes through or it bounces off though? Now powers, right? If you have an odd power, like here and here, then the graph goes through the x-axis. But when you have an even power there and there, the graph bounces off. So where is it going to bounce off? Negative 2 and 3. There you go. So you don't really need to draw the graph if you know what's happening. Okay, and then 26. Oh. Now, you don't have to memorize this formula. This formula is going to be given to you. No, well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't write the test. Maybe not. What is the investment value in dollars if $1,000 was invested at a rate of 5% if interest is compounded quarterly for 3 years? So you just have to know where to plug in the numbers. Okay, so where do I plug in the 1,000? Your initial investment. Where do I plug in the 1,000? Huh? A. No, I'm right under it. P. P stands for principal, which is your initial investment. That's how much you first invest. What do you think I'm going to plug in for R here? What do you think R stands for?
Rate.
Interest rate. So what does it say? 5%, so 0.05. And what is this N?
Number.
How many times a year that you compound interest? So it says it's compounded quarterly. If you compound interest quarterly, how many times a year are you compounding interest?
4.
4, so N is 4. Like that. And then what? And then for 3 years, where do I plug in the 3 years? For T, right? For time. Right there. And you're not given a calculator, so if I remember correctly on the test, it was multiple choice, and then you have like 4 answers. I forget 4 or 5 answers that look just like this. So you just got to pick out the correct one. Except, of course, they switch around the numbers, like to put 4 here, try and confuse you, but you guys are not going to be confused on this one. Well, we'll find out. That was 26. Okay, 27. Solve for x. Okay, we're gonna need some room in this one. Okay, 26. X plus 3.
Oh, 27.
I have 27. Whatever, Daddy. X plus 3 over x minus 1 is less than. You guys don't listen to the Dan Patrick show or watch it on TV? You don't even know what that is.
We don't blind.
Okay, how do I solve an inequality like this? Multiply both sides by x minus 1. No. Who said yes? I guarantee you, you multiply both sides by x minus 1, that answer could be waiting for you. No, why can't you multiply both sides by x minus 1? Look at, is there a mosquito or something in here? Because you don't know whether it's positive or negative. Because when you have an inequality, it makes a difference if you multiply both sides by a positive or a negative number, right? So what do you do then? What did I teach you to do? Make one side 0. Okay, and then what you need to do is you need to factor this side. So when you're adding or subtracting fractions, you need to make the least common denominator. So what goes on the top then? X plus 3 plus 2 times x minus 1, right? Okay, multiply out the whole top. Okay, let's do that. X plus 3 plus 2x minus 2 all over x minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. So you got 3x plus 1 all over x minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. Now it's in factored form. Now you are ready for the number line. Come on, whenever you do inequalities, you're going to make a number line. It's automatic already. What goes on the number lines? Things that make either the top or the bottom 0. What makes the top 0? What makes the bottom 0? That's what you put on the number line. Now, is negative 1/3 part of the solution or not part of the solution? It is part of the solution, because if you plug in negative 1/3 there, you're going to get 0 over something which is 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 0? Yeah. What happens when you plug in 1? It's not part of the solution because it makes the denominator 0, which means it's undefined. Okay? So anything in the denominator is automatically not part of the solution. Okay, now think of a number bigger than 1. 2. Plug in 2. So you get 6 plus 1, positive. 2 minus 1, positive. Positive divided by positive is positive. And how do I know they're going to alternate? Because they have odd powers. But like I said, even if you don't know, just plug in a number. Think of a number between negative 1/3 and 1. 0. Plug in 0. 0 plus 1 is positive. 0 minus 1, negative. Positive divided by negative, negative. So if you cannot remember the patterns, just keep plugging in numbers and you should get this. And then what do I shade in? Do I shade in the pluses or the minuses? Minuses, because it's less than. It's over there. And then you just got to pick out the answer. I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if they're going to write it like this or they're going to write it like this, but it doesn't matter, right? You guys can pick out the answer, right? But I guarantee you multiply both sides by x minus 1. That answer is going to be one of the choices. I'll shake my head if you pick that one. I'm going to take off triple if anybody picks that one. Okay, find the vertex of a parabola? That's easy. Okay, find the vertex and the y-intercept. Well, that's an insult to our intelligence. But that's okay, we'll do it. Because look, the y-intercept, if you plug in 0 for x, that's the y-intercept right there. The y-intercept is 3. Okay, now how do you find the vertex? What's the fastest way? Negative b over 2a. I'll write it down for you. So, negative b over 2a. That comes out to 8 over 4, which is 2. That's the x-coordinate of the vertex. How do you find the y-coordinate? You plug it back in. So if I plug in 2, you get 8 minus 16 plus 3. Negative 5. So there's the vertex. Now on the test, I'm not sure, like I wrote that problem, but I'm not sure, like maybe they want you to pick out the graph or something. How would you graph this? The vertex is at 2, -5, right there. And which way does it open? Since that's positive. It opens up. The y-intercept is 3, so that means right there. So if I go 2 to the left and you're up there, that means if I go 2 to the right, you're also up there. So the graph looks like this then, right? Kind of thin. That's why they ask you for the y-intercept, because you can use that point to plot, draw the graph. All right, 29. Graph. Okay, now there's a whole bunch of problems on the test that you're gonna have to draw the graph, and they give you the axes and the grid, so it's kind of easier for you. Now, how do you graph this kind of polynomial function? What's the first thing you should do? Rhymes with factor. You factor it. So I factor out an x squared. What's left? X squared minus 4. Is that completely factored? Don't be ridiculous. That's a difference of squares. Okay? Now we are ready to graph. So whenever you graph polynomial functions, remember you plot the x-intercepts and the y-intercept. Okay, what are the x-intercepts? 0, -2, and 2. That's why you put it in factored form. Now, of course, if the x-intercept is 0, does that mean the y-intercept is also 0? Or can there be another point up there?
No.
No, because it's a function. How can you have 2 points for the same x-coordinate? No can. So if the x-coordinate is 0, the x-intercept is 0, the y-intercept is also 0. Now, what degree is this polynomial? It's degree 4, leading coefficient positive. So, what's the end behavior? Is it A, B, C, or D? We talked about this yesterday.
C.
I forget which one. A, B, C. You're right, C. Because remember, if you have an even degree, it's either both up or both down. And if the leading coefficient is positive, then it's like this, right? So the end behavior is like that. Okay, now all you have to do now is whether to go through or bounce off the x-intercepts. So, boom. Coming up to this x-intercept, go through or bounce off. So -2 came from here, right? It has an odd power. You go through. Okay, now it's going to come down. Now here's the x-intercept. It came from here, right? Has an even power. So what do I do? Even power, bounce off. Boom. And then now I'm coming to this x-intercept, which is 2. It came from here. There's an odd power. Okay, something's wrong here.
What the thought it was through?
That's because I did something stupid. Didn't I just say it was like this?
Yeah.
And I thought, why didn't I draw it like that? Because I'm stupid, that's why. No, I'm not stupid, it's just a lapse in concentration. Okay, so -2 go through, this one bounce off, and that one go through. There you go, now it makes sense. See how I did it and then didn't make sense, so then I knew I made a mistake. Okay, next, okay, here we go. We need some room for this one.
Here's about thing.
Yes. 30. Graph this ellipse and label the vertices and the foci. So, if I remember correctly, this one has the most number of points on the test. Because you gotta do a lot of things. Okay, so they're gonna give you the graph, the grid over here. Okay? So the first thing you gotta do is you gotta find the center. Where's the center? Is it 1, -2, or -2, 1? 1, -2. There's the center. Okay? Now, since this is an ellipse, the bigger number is a squared and the smaller number is b squared, okay? Anyway, that part really doesn't matter when you're drawing the graph, because the number under the x is, the square root of this number tells you how much to go left and right. X is always left and right, and y is always up and down. So, what's the square root of 16? 4. So, from the center, you need to go 4 to the left, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to the right. And then this number that's under the y's, the square root of that number tells you how much to go up and down. So you have to go 5 up and 5 down. 1, 2, 3. And you don't even have to draw these hash marks because they're gonna have all the grids in there. And then you draw your ellipse. And it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Like I never draw masterpieces anyway. Anyway, what do we have to do in this problem? Label the vertices and the foci. Okay, so here is the major axis, the longer one, right? And here is the minor axis. So these are the two vertices right here. The vertices connect, are the endpoints of the major axis. So how much did we go up and down again? 5, right? So from this point, if I go 5 up, where am I going to be? 1 comma 3. And then what about here? 1 comma. If you're at -2 and you go 5 down, where are you going to be? -7. Those are the vertices, and then the foci. Where are the foci? Well, anything dealing with the foci is C, right? So what was the equation you need to know for the ellipse? C squared equals A squared minus B squared. If it's a hyperbola, then it would be plus. So C squared is equal to 25 minus 16, which is equal to 9. So therefore C is 3. So that means the distance from the center to the focus is 3. So here's the center. To get to the focus, you gotta go 3 up. Here's one focus. And then you gotta go 3 down. 1, 2, 3. So if I went 3 up, where are you gonna be? 1 comma. If you're at -2 and go 3 up. Well, just look at the. Anyway, tomorrow I'm gonna have the grade, so you can just count. It's gonna be easy. Well, not tomorrow, but Thursday. And then if I went 3 down, 1 comma -5. And that's all you have to do. But see, it's still a lot, so that's why this problem is probably worth 6 points or something like that.
Wait, how do you know that you go up and down?
Because the major axis, the foci and the vertices always lie on the major axis, the longer one, yeah? Okay, 31, graph. Okay, this is what I was talking about. 31, y equals, what, you guys all tired already? Nay. What is the base graph for this? Y equal 1 over x. That's the base graph, right? And then you shift it. What does that do? 2 to the right and 3 up. So start with, okay. Let's just draw a mini base graph. What's the base graph for this? What are the 2 points you need to know? 1, 1, -1, -1, and then Hakuna Matata. So all you have to do is take that graph and shift it 2 right and 3 up. That's all you gotta do. This is a pretty easy problem. So look at the 2 asymptotes. They intersect at the origin, but now you have to shift it 2 to the right and 3 up right there. So that's where the asymptotes are gonna intersect now. And then just remember your 2 points. 1, 1, -1, -1. Hakuna Matata. Easy. 32. Find the vertex of. I taught this 2 or 3 years ago in this class. I remember these parabolas, ellipses, and hyperbolas, and that's, I don't know. That's the one that gave the students trouble. Okay, now this is a parabola. Remember, because only the x1 is squared, yeah? What is this number here? What is this thing? We just did it 10 minutes ago. 4p. So that means if 4p is -12, that means p is -3. So which way does this parabola open? Up, down, left, or right? Up, down, left, or right? Well, if it's x squared, it's either up or down, right? Okay, I mean, since p is negative, it's going to be down. So here's the parabola. So here's the vertex. What's the vertex? 1, -2. See, you don't even have to complete the square on this test. The square is going to be completed. You just have to be able to find the stuff. So this negative just means it's opening down. 3 is the number that I want. So to find the focus is 3 units. Where's the focus? The focus is over here, right? The focus, this distance is 3. So if the vertex is 1, -2, and I go 3 down, where are you going to be? 1 comma -5. And it's not in this problem, but what if they were to ask you, what is the equation of the direction up here? Well, then you gotta go 3 up. So what's the equation of this direction? It's y equals 1, right? Because if the y coordinate is -2 here and you go 3 up, you're at -1. And remember, a directrix is a line, yeah? But obviously they're not gonna ask you that, otherwise I would have put that over there, yeah? Oh, just when I said you're not gonna complete the square, there you go, you're gonna complete the square. So what are you thinking? I will skip this problem. That's sad. 33. 9x squared minus 16y squared plus 36x plus 32y plus 164 equals 0. Okay, now, if you forgot how to complete the square, you better pay attention then. Put all the x terms together, like this. Then you put all the y terms together. And then you throw this number on the other side of this. Okay, now look at the 2x terms. Whatever number is in the front there, that's what you factor out. So factor out the 9. And then you leave a space to complete the square. Now look at the 2 y terms. What can I factor out? A -16. What's going to be left? Y squared minus 2y, leave a space, equal -164. So what do I have to add right there to make a perfect square? Remember, you take half of that number and you square it. So 4. But what did you actually add? 9 times 4, which is 36. So make sure you add 36 to both sides. And then what about right there? What do I add? 1, right? Because you take half of that number and you square it. -1 squared is 1. But what did I actually add? -16 times 1, so that would be -16. So this is what you got. 9 times x plus 2 squared. Don't worry, they made it so the numbers come out, you don't have fractions to worry about. Equals, okay, what happens when you do those numbers there? That's probably the hardest part for you guys. -144. Now, if you want this to be in standard form, you need this side to be what? 1. So what you're going to do is divide both sides by -144 like this. Okay, so this side is 1. Now, if you divide both sides by -144, that means this one is going to become the positive one. This one comes first. And 16 goes into 144 9 times. This one becomes negative, x plus 2 squared. So what? 9 goes into 144 16 times. See how it comes out nice? They're not gonna make you do so if you're coming out with fractions and stuff like that, you did something wrong. Anyway, what does it say? Graph is the, this one is the hardest problem on the thing. You gotta label the vertices, the foci, and the asymptotes. Woo-hoo-hoo! Okay, here we go. Can we squeeze it in over here? Too bad we are. Okay, first thing, you find the center. -2, 1. Here is the center. -2, 1. Okay? Now remember, when you have a hyperbola, the positive term, this is the a squared, and the negative term, that's the b squared. So so a squared is the first one, b squared is the second one. Okay, now, since this number is under the y, the square root of this number tells you how much to go left and right. I mean, what am I saying? Up and down. So I have to go 3 up, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 down. 1, 2, 3. The square root of this number tells you how much to go left and right because it's under the x. So you go 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Why is it not there?
I don't know, because I'm dumb. I'm not concentrating. Okay, and then what do you do with a hyperbola? You make the rectangular box. And then you draw in the diagonals. These are the asymptotes, right? Okay, now, since the y comes first, is it left and right hyperbola? Or is it an up and down? Now, if you're on the test and you just kind of forget everything, at least pick one. Don't just stop. Like, pick one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you can get more points. 50-50 chance rate. So is it left and right or up and down? Since the y comes first.
Left and right.
No, don't up and down. There you go. Now we have to label the vertices. Okay, these are the vertices, just like the vertex of a parabola. If you got two. So this is V1 and V2. Well, that's easy because remember from the center, I had to go 3 up and 3 down. So if I go 3 up, where am I? -2, comma 4. Anyway, you're gonna have all the grids, so you can count, right? -2, comma. If I go 3 down, -2. The foci are gonna be here and here now. How do you figure out the foci? You need to know C. In a hyperbola, C squared is equal to? C squared equals
A squared.
plus B squared. So that's 9 plus 16, which is 25. C is 5. That means to get to the foci, you have to go 5 up and 5 down. So from the center, if I were to go 5 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there, what would the coordinates of that be? -2, comma, if you're at 1 and then go 5 up, if you're at 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the other focus. -2, comma, -4. And then the last thing, the asymptotes. What are the equation of these asymptotes? Now, remember when we did it, I told you, if the hyperbola opens left and right, then the slope of the asymptotes are plus or minus b over a, right? If the hyperbola opens up and down, then the slope of the asymptotes are plus or minus a over b. Here, so let me write it. But, why do you want to memorize that? Just look at the box that you made. Here's the center. The two asymptotes always intersect at the center, right? You can see that. Now, how do you find the slope of this line? Well, look at this. Remember, slope is rise over run. So just look at the rectangular box that you drew. What is this? 3. What is that? 4. No, it's 4. Look, count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So isn't the slope of that one going to be 3/4? Rise over run? Yeah. And then what's the slope of this one? This is 3 and this is 4. It's -3/4, right? So why do you want to memorize stuff? Just look at the box that you drew. So what's the equation of this line? Here's the center, and the slope of the asymptotes are plus or minus rise over run, 3/4. And if you want to do it, it's a over b, right? Because a is 3 and b is 4, right? So it comes out no matter what. So just do this, point slope form. Y minus 1 equals plus or minus 3/4 times x plus 2. Right? You're using the center and the slope. Just do point slope form. Okay, I think that problem might be worth 10 points on the test. Because look at all the work you have to do.
Yeah, I thought that the a squared is always a little bigger.
No, that's for an ellipse. In an ellipse, a squared is bigger. But hyperbola, that's not the case. Okay, 34. Oh my god. Okay, we're going to finish, I think. 34. Okay, solving 3 equations, 3 variables. A lot of you didn't like it when we did it.
Hate this one.
You hate this kind? Well, hey, when you go to pre-calculus, you got to be good at solving 3 equations, 3 variables. Okay, so 34 x plus y plus z equal 9. I just go watch this video later. I'm tired. Is that what you guys are thinking? Shame on you.
Video.
I know, there's a video, guys.
Okay, so the first thing you gotta decide is which variable do you want to eliminate? You want to eliminate either x, y, or z, doesn't matter, pick one. Look at z. Now look at the first 2 equations. If you want to just subtract them, the z's, so what you want to do is somebody out there? You want to make the z's disappear, so what do you want to do? You want to just subtract it, or do you want to multiply this by -1 and then add them?
Subtract.
You guys think you guys can add them? Okay, let's do that. Okay, so the first 2 equations, just subtract them. This minus this. -x. This minus this is 2y. Z minus z cancels out, and then 9 minus 3 is 6. See how now you have only 2 variables instead of 3? That's what you want to do. Now you have to involve the 3rd equation. So you can do it first and third or second and third, it doesn't matter because, look, if you just add the two, the z's disappear, right? So which two you wanna use? First and third or second and third? Pick one.
First and second.
No, we did the first and second already. Now we have to involve the third one.
Third.
If you leave one of them out, then you're not gonna be able to solve it. Okay, let's do second and third because they're right next to each other. Add them, go. 7x, this plus this, minus 4y equals, because the z's cancel out, and then this plus this is -2. See, now you got just two equations, two variables. This is algebra 1. Okay, now what? How do I solve it? How do I disappear the y's?
Times the top by 2.
Multiply the top equation by 2, so what do you got? -2x plus 4y equal 12. And then you line it up with this one. And if I want to make the y's disappear, you add. So this plus this is 5x. These cancel out. This plus this is 10. And then look, it comes out nice. X equals 2. Now, once you figure out what x is, you plug it back into one of these to figure out y. Let's get rid of this 2 here. Which one looks easier? I think the first one got smaller numbers, right? So if I plug in 2 there, how do I solve for y? Add 2 to both sides, so you get 2y equal 8, y equal 4. And then once you get x and y, then you go back to one of these to figure out z. So which one looks the easiest? Probably the top one, yeah? So if this is, x is 2 and y is 4, what does z have to be? 2 plus 4 plus 1 equals 9. Come on.
3.
Z equal 3. And then remember, write your answer like this, yeah? Although if you didn't, if you just wrote like that, I would probably give you full credit. You did. And again, notice, look, it's nice. If you come out with like totally ugly stuff, probably you did something wrong. Okay, let's finish up here. Okay, now we got more log problems. E to the x plus 1 all over e to the x minus 1. Okay, natural log. Okay, now, whenever you divide, what do you do with the exponents? Like, there's lots of ways to do this problem, but since they have the same base, I would subtract the exponents. So, if I were to subtract the exponents, what would you get? E to the, here, I'll write it out. X plus 1 minus x minus 1, right? You subtract the exponents.
0.
And so, no, you get x plus 1, distribute the minus sign, minus x plus 1. The x's cancel out.
-2.
No, positive 2. Okay, now what is that equal to? When you have a logarithm, what can you do with the power? Put it in the front. And then what about that? Natural log e. What you're supposed to know what that is. Okay, when you have a natural log, what's the base that we just don't write? It's e. It's e, right? So what is natural log of e? That means e to the what power equals e? 1. This is 1. E to the what? See, when you see this, look, natural log e. I don't know what that is. So the base is e. So change it to exponential form. E to the x power equals e. E to the what power equals e? 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. The answer is 2. So that whole mess simplifies to 2. Okay, now we are nearing the end. Oh, 2 more problems. 36. So 2e to the x plus 3 equal 5. Okay, how do you solve for x? First step, you gotta isolate this term right here. So how do I get rid of this 2? Divide both sides by 2. Wham! Okay, now, once you have this, you change it to log form, right? This is exponential form. Change it to log form. So how do you do that? This means the same thing as log base.
10.
No. Look, this is the base. Okay, should I write the, no, I'm not going to write it again. Log base e of 5 halves is equal to x plus 3. Because this means the same thing as e to the this equals that, right? You just have to go back and forth between the 2. Now is it easy to solve for x? Yeah, just subtract 3 from both sides. So if you want to solve for x, subtract 3 from both sides. Now, When you have log base e, do we write log base e though? No, we write natural log minus 3, and that's your answer. That's how you solve for x. So again, this thing about switching between exponential and log form, that's like how many problems we did already that we really had to do that. Okay, 37. Do you guys remember Kramer's rule? Now, you can solve this without Kramer's rule because this is just an algebra 1 problem. However, you're not going to get any points now because the directions on the test is you have to use Kramer's rule. So let's review this quickly. First, you compute the determinant d. What is d? You put the coefficients in. 3, 2, so again, think of this as the x column, and then think of this as the y column, right? X's and the y's. Okay, and how do you compute a determinant? This times this minus this times this. So here, 3 times negative 1 minus 2 times 2. What is that? Negative 3 minus 4. See? I mean, if that's the only thing that you can do, you got points, right? Instead of getting minus 8, at least you get minus 6, right? Isn't that a lot better? You don't answer. Okay. D sub x, does anybody remember?
Yeah.
You take these numbers and you put them into the x column. Think of this as the x column and that is the y column. And then what do I put in the y column then?
2.
Yeah, the same thing as the original. This is the original one. Everything is based on the original one. And then you compute it. This times this minus that times that. So what is that? Negative 4 minus 10. Negative 14. Okay, now, what do you think we're going to do for d sub y? You take these numbers and you put them in the y column. And then what do I put in the x column then? The same thing as the original one. Okay, then you compute it. This times this minus that times that. 3 times 5 minus 4 times 2. So what is that? 15 minus 8, that's 7. So how do you figure out the answer? Where do these two lines intersect? Remember? D sub x over d, d sub y over d. Does that ring a bell? Oh god. Okay, so what was d sub x? So negative 14 over d, which is negative 7, and then d sub y over d. So 7 over negative 7. So what is that?
Negative 2.
2, comma, negative 1. That's Kramer's rule. Oh boy.
Wait,
That's
if
one.
the d equals 0,
That means the system is either inconsistent or dependent, but you don't need to know that. Because it's gonna be consistent, yeah, so. Because if it were, then I would put that on the practice test. And then number 38. Okay, number 38, you just gotta use your rules of exponents right here. Come on. This is an insult. Okay, when you divide, what do you do with the exponents? You subtract them. And then if e to the gorilla is equal to e to the banana, then shouldn't gorilla equal banana? Right? And then how do you solve a quadratic equation? I think we make one side 0, and then it factors. So what is that? X and x, 5 and 3, plus and minus. So x equals negative 5 or 3. That one's pretty easy. That's kind of like an algebra 1 problem. But the e makes it look like algebra 2. And then finally the last problem, 39. Using your properties of logarithms, write this as a single logarithm. Now, if you get confused on the test, you gotta learn how to minimize damage. Like, what have you learned? When you have a number in front of a logarithm, what can you do?
Put it up.
You put it up as the power. Just 1 point. I mean, better to get 1 there, right? You 1 here, 1 there, it adds up. Okay, now, when you subtract logarithms, okay, first of all, what's the base that's not written?
10.
Okay, that really doesn't come into play here, right? Okay. When you subtract logarithms, what are you going to do with the arguments? When you subtract log, you're going to divide them like this. Okay? I'm just going 2 at a time so you can see what's happening. Now, what do you do when you add logarithms? What do you do with the arguments? What do you do with these two arguments here? You multiply them, so you're gonna get x squared over x minus 1 to the 4 times 2x. It's kind of like that. And then you gotta simplify your answer. So what's your final answer gonna be?
Log.
What happened? This is like over 1. 2x cubed over x minus 1 to the 4. There you go. Now, when I made this thing, I put the problems are in order now. This is like the order that you're gonna see them. But the hardest part is you gotta remember everything. That's the thing. So like I said, just because you guys copied it down, it doesn't mean you did it on your own. So you gotta take this home Wednesday night, whatever, and do it all on your own. And you forget how to do it, you watch the video. Yeah. All right, we got 7 minutes left.
Can I go to the log and
Stop. You can't go back.
Okay.
But that one, dude.
Whew, that took kind of long. I thought it was gonna be fast.